Hey folks, it's Mr. Fingland here again on Finglish 101. Hope you're watching and enjoying The Grapes of Wrath. All right, this is about chapter 2 in The Grapes of Wrath. All right, this is the chapter where we're actually introduced to our protagonist, Tom Joad. Right, we meet this man. He's described as the hitchhiker, and the chapter starts off with Tom walking down the road and looking closely at how he's dressed. Right, so out of nowhere, this man is walking, from the wilderness. And again, the setting here is Oklahoma. He's walking out of McAllister Penitentiary. This is the middle of the Dust Bowl. There's dust everywhere, dead crops, dead fields, not a lot of life, and out he comes. And he's walking down the road, and the thing that we're asked to notice about him is how ill-fitting his clothes are. He's in a brand new suit, but the suit doesn't fit, right? His pants are too short. His coat is maybe a little bit too big. It's a suit cut for an average-sized person, and Tom Joad's a little bit too tall, a little bit more wiry. Right? He's got a hat, and there's a lot of focus on this hat of his that it's only, a couple of hours old, and, the sweat is getting to it, and he's sort of ruining the hat and as he's walking out. Those clues, where does someone get a suit that doesn't fit? Well, you get it when you get out of prison. They give you a suit, and there's no tailor there to make sure it fits, right? It's for everyone. Everyone gets the same suit. That's where Tom is, right? And that's one of the things you're going to notice as we see Tom progressing down the road. He comes to a diner, right? Outside there's this truck. It's labeled the Oklahoma City Transport Company, sort of giving us the setting there. There's a little sticker on that truck, right? It says no riders, right? So this Oklahoma City Transport Company says their people cannot give hitchhikers a lift, and of course that's precisely what Tom wants. He wants a lift, right? It's steaming hot. His suit doesn't fit. He's got brand new shoes on that are hurting, right? He wants a lift home, and he's going to get it out of the truck driver, right? Now, as you read this chapter, enjoy the dialogue. Notice there are some, inappropriate words in this dialogue. Steinbeck was very good at capturing how real people spoke, and in the 1930s, some of the concepts a little bit backwards by today's standards, but you'll be able to fly with that. A lot of The Grapes of Wrath is about conversations that real people have and capturing that, and Steinbeck was really into that. So anyway, Tom finagles a lift. I'd like you to pay attention to how he finagles a lift out of this truck driver who has that no riders sticker. You're not allowed to take hitchhikers. He has this conversation with the hitchhiker, and he gets the sense that the hitchhiker is kind of looking at him strangely. The hitchhiker wants to know why he's got an odd-fitting suit on, why he's walking in the middle of nowhere. And you get the sense that the hitchhiker knows that this guy is giving him a going over and trying to figure out who he is. And that annoys Tom Joad. And so one of the things I want you to notice about Tom in this first time we meet him is that he's come out of prison and he's angry. He doesn't want to be questioned. And he hasn't gotten over this event in his life where he killed a man, but still maybe has some residual anger, maybe not so much from the killing of the man, but from being locked up. And I'm going to read you a little passage here that I think captures his spirit really nicely. Just pay attention to the conversation. This is actually on page 12. The first person speaking is the truck driver. All right, and we're going to we focus on Tom's hands. That's been done a couple of times. The driver was silent. "Don't you?" Joad insisted. "Well, sure, that is, maybe, but ain't none of my business. I mind my own yard. It ain't nothing to me." The words tumbled out now. "I don't stick my nose in nobody's business." And suddenly he was silent and waiting, and his hands were still white on the wheel. He's gripping that wheel. A grasshopper flipped through the window and lighted on top of the instrument panel, where it sat and began to scrape its wings with its angled, jumping legs. Joad reached forward and crushed its hard, skull-like head with his fingers, and he let it into the wind stream and out the window. Joad chuckled again while he brushed the bits of broken insect from his fingertips. "You got me wrong, mister," he said. "I ain't keeping quiet about it. Sure, I've been in McAllister. Been there 4 years. Sure, these is the clothes they give me when I come out. I don't give a damn who know it. And I'm going to my old man's place so I don't have to lie to get a job. The driver said, well, that ain't none of my business. I ain't a nosy guy. The hell you ain't, said Joe. That big old nose of yours has been sticking out 8 miles ahead of your face. You had that big nose going over me like a sheep in a vegetable patch. The driver's face tightened. You got me all wrong, he began weakly. Joe laughed at him. You've been a good guy. You give me a lift. Well, hell, I done time. So what? You want to know what I done time for, don't you? So, really great bit of dialogue there, right? You've got this truck driver who's sort of nosy and investigative, and he wants to know all the story about Jode, but Jode sniffs that coming a mile away, right? He's been in prison, he's been, in this incredibly stressful situation with guards, always, on him all the time. And so when this truck driver wants to know, that just drives Jode a little bit nuts. And notice when that grasshopper comes in, we got that really symbolic crushing of the grasshopper's head, right? And letting it out of the window. Right? Tom Joad, first thing you're supposed to know about him, he's got anger issues. Right? Hey, folks, if you look in your study guide, all right, I think it's page 7 of the study guide, got a little Freya model here for you. You're going to start completing this. This is one of the assignments. We're trying to characterize Tom Joad. And I think there are a lot of things in chapter 1 that tell you and hint at Tom Joad, at his lifestyle, at his anger issues. And we're looking for 4 examples, in those corners. And ideally, I'd like a direct quote from the book and an explanation of what that tells you about Tom Joad. Now, you might not find enough just in chapter 2 to complete that Freya model. I encourage you to look at chapter 3 as well, because in chapter 4, I think you got me there. In chapter 4, we come back to the Tom Joad story, and he's going to meet someone he knew before, and he's taking this trip to his house that turns out to be sort of a fruitless trip. And there'll be plenty more information there. So please have a look at chapter 2. Please read that. Enjoy it. Tom Joad is this great, dynamic, scary character. And complete that, start on that Freya model. You'll be able to complete it once you get to chapter 4, maybe chapter 6. So keep that in mind. Hey folks, great talking to you. Again, on your study guide, my contact information. Feel free to contact me directly if you have any questions. And good times, right? We're going to beat this thing. All right, good times.